So to get the facts straight, brutal interrogations are illegal right now. But this executive order doesn't completely solve the problem. The president can't include criminal penalties in executive orders, and current U.S. law doesn't outline what constitutes a brutal interrogation. My amendment would have expanded on the president's executive order to clearly define what constitutes a cruel, inhuman, or degrading interrogation so that it is unmistakable what kinds of techniques are unacceptable. It also creates criminal penalties for those who use those kinds of interrogations. And to be clear, I didn't invent this concept myself. The amendment was based on the Army Field Manual definition of acceptable and unacceptable interrogation tactics, which, as Senator John McCain has said, is effective 99.9% of the time. One of the most important things to remember about these kinds of interrogations is that they simply don't work. Brutal interrogations are not an effective tool to collect information, and what's worse, they actually may produce unreliable information. As former CIA official Bob Baer has said, what happens when you torture people is they figure out what you want to hear and they tell you that. An endless string of studies have shown us that when people's minds or bodies are subjected to the kind of trauma these brutal interrogations entail, their brains don't function properly. For example, during training exercises, American special operative soldiers have had difficulty remembering information after they've been put through food or sleep deprivation. Why are the Republicans defending a tactic we know doesn't work? Interrogations like those hurt our reputation abroad. The world was horrified when they saw what American soldiers were doing at Abu Ghraib. As former Secretary of State Colin Powell has said, people are now starting to question whether we're following our own high standards. Brutality like that hurts our credibility and undercuts our reputation in the global community. I'm a veteran. I wear my Vietnam pin well and proudly. I served in the Navy. I'm passionate about protecting this country and keeping our soldiers safe. More than anything, this amendment was designed to protect them. Several of soldiers have done a far better job than I can in explaining why we need laws like this. Retired Colonel Stuart Harrington said that cruelty in interrogations, quote, endangers our soldiers on the battlefield by encouraging reciprocity, close quote, the golden rule, if you will. Retired Admiral John Houston has said, quote, getting our interrogation policies back on track will preserve our standing to fight for humane treatment of American soldiers who are captured. I couldn't agree more. Without clear laws that define acceptable and unacceptable interrogation practices, including criminal consequences for violating those laws, we are putting more Americans at risk of being treated with the same brutality. Just last week, two former Justice Department attorneys who crafted the legal justification for the use of brutal interrogations got off scot-free. The Justice Department absolved them of their wrongdoing and only said they had, quote, exercised poor judgment, close quote, and hadn't broken the law. They took advantage of a gap in our current law and provided legal cover for abuse during interrogations that we all saw on television. My amendment would have ensured this kind of legal maneuvering never happens again. The president said when he assumed his office...
The gentleman's time has expired.
I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman's time has expired. Mr. Jones of North Carolina.